So first of all, welcome everyone to join us. This evening, or probably your morning or your afternoon. Good day to cover everything. So this is a Hyperledger Syndey meetup in June. So this is the fourth online meetup we are having in 2020, considering the COVID-19 situation, global. Across different continents. So this session gonna be start from now, and we are aiming to finish within 1 hour. So we are going to have the presenter, to speak first, and then we have the Q&A session after that. So feel free to leave your questions in the chat box. We will cover them, after the presentation. So the adoption of business blockchain has always been an exciting journey. Whilst some of business, especially large corporations, has made impressive progressions. Lenovo, as one of the world's largest PC and famous server maker, has successfully adopted blockchain to transform their global supply chain, as they have been Hyperledger member since 2018. Today, we are honored to have Ms. Eileen Zhang, Director of Global Strategy of Data Center in Lenovo Group. She's also the leader of blockchain project in China and APAC. She's going to share Lenovo's journey, how they used the blockchain, how they discovered the business scenario for blockchain, and create the business value. So now pass the time to Ms. Zhang. It's your turn, Ms. Zhang. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Clint. Thanks for the introduction. Welcome today to our presentation about blockchain. I'm glad to have all of you here today. I'm Eileen. This is my topic today. I would like to start like this. Do you feel the same way what I do? The world has been changing so fast. As we all know, changes within last decade have crashed the changes from previous decades. The biggest taxi company doesn't have a car. The biggest retailer has no inventory. The biggest rental company doesn't have a room. The biggest bank has no cash. When the blockchain technology come around, well, we have gone from knowing nothing to knowing a little. So what kind of trouble are business facing? Let's see what kind of trouble the company is facing. Pandering to government policy. In order to conform to the government's policy, business are struggling to find a suitable scenario. Eager transformation. In order to adapt to change, but how to change and innovate. Looking forward to hot style. Having been watching blockchain so great, why don't you see a hot style coming out? Don't miss the good opportunity. The trend is so clear. Don't want to miss the game. But there is no way to start. Where to get in? So I would like to say, you need to have thinking in blockchain. But what is thinking in blockchain? I would like to say, blockchain is more about a business model than the technology. So I suggest to not stay the technology view only, putting technology in the context of the customer experience, then value of business, then the winning ecosystem. Anyway, no matter how will you find a joining point to create a value, what you need to pay attention to is, in other words, you have to control this tear up the old yourself to think, is it necessary to use blockchain or not? Blockchain project is an innovative project in Lenovo. The core member of our whole team are no more than 10. How can we leverage this latest technology with the least manpower and investment? Yeah, people. People are the first part of the innovation that I think I want to highlight the most in the whole experience. If we're talking about innovator, innovation can't happen without innovators. So my question here is, who are innovators? You or me? No. The innovators are not you, not me, but we are. You need a diversified team of people who comes from different fields, have different specialties, and make different songs. This difference can spark creativity and produce unaccepted chemical effect. At Lenovo, our blockchain innovation team is a virtual team composed of people of multi-organizations named LeChain. LE stands for Lenovo, Chain stands for blockchain. Team members from the Research Institute are responsible for the platform development. The Solution Center team is responsible for reaching customers to ensure that the products are user-centered. And our supply chain strategy team is responsible for business scenario discovery. As mentioned above, people is core in our project. The other side, I also want to highlight another point for the people. In our project, user is people. When we are not sure whether our product can truly solve the user's pain point, we will not blindly copy some so-called mutual ways. I believe that, especially in the initial stage of the blockchain scenario landing, the replete capability is still not very strong. Different users still have their own pain point. To find the joint point where to restructure value chain, start at this point to explore the scenario. Yes, we will use tools to conduct in-depth interview with user to gain insight into their real pain points. Because you don't necessarily know what your users are really thinking. Don't try to figure out by default. Okay, as to whether you really know your user, let's have an interactive experience, okay? Look at this picture. The girl posts a picture on social media saying, Sophie, good morning. I woke up like this. Please, can you guess how she is feeling now? What does she want to express in her social media moment? Please write down your answer in the chat area. 30 seconds, go. Let's see what answer you would put in the chat area. Is she in a good mood? She wants to show a bright morning. All right, time's up. Let's see what actually happened. Wow. Is that what you saw? Yeah. I mean, what you say, what you guess, is probably not what the user say. which means you don't know what the user is thinking. You can't assume what the user is thinking. And what's more, do you believe it? In fact, users sometimes do not know what they really want. Okay, let's see, what did she actually do for this picture behind? Well, she get up early, fresh up, make sure she's fresh, and show her best. I show this case, just want to say, I mean, you don't know what the user is thinking. We use tools such as in-depth user interview to understand users' real need, gain insight into users' real pain point, and explore scenario. Again, to find the journey point where to restructure value chain. When you look at this picture, you may many questions for me. The reason why Ghana said that is it's because of AWS QLDB, or non-criticality of blockchain killer application, which finally drives business more way, give the technical revolution moving forward. We are still believing the power of blockchain. The effective blockchain methodology is going to help the realization of immutable business value. Next, I would like to introduce how Lenovo has made the blockchain empower the supply chain. As we all know, Lenovo is the world leader in supply chain. In the Ghana Global Supply Chain Ranking, just released in 2020, Lenovo ranks 15th. Since we consider the adoption of a blockchain in supply chain field, as this is proved in current industry analysis shows supply chain is a prime application area to implement blockchain technology. That's why the first starting scenario, we didn't choose finance, education, government, but supply chain. The integration of the four streams into one supply chain is the typical specific of the supply chain. The most complex form of network solves such a scenario, and other industries will be as easy as turn a corner. Yes, I would like to show that we have got some industry recognition. We won some award, published paper in authoritative academic conference, and have a patent ranking of top 60 of the world. So when we pick this industry in early stage, how do we explore it step by step? Let's talk about our methodology, the 4D model. What is 4D model? 4D model is discover, design, deploy, distribution. This is a set of practical model based on the design thinking methodology. When we interpret the 4D model methodology, we can interpret it from the two dimensions. One is the value dimension, the other is the knowledge dimension. Value dimension. From the perspective of the project implementation, each step gradually increase the value of blockchain application. This is the increase the value of the blockchain. This is also the basic root of the 4D model in the process of promotion. Knowledge dimension. For the technical core of the blockchain application process, the starting point of each step is also the knowledge point of the technology. So, as to ensure that the promotion of the application conform to the characteristics of the blockchain technology. what I want to point out there is, empirically, out of the 4 Ds, we do spend more time on the first D, as we often find that it's more important to define the problem than to solve it blindly. Okay, I will explain each D. The first D, discover. What do we do in the first D? People are looking in the beginning of the scenario. It is necessary to have a basic understanding of the characteristic of blockchain. That is, to understand TECH, and then determine a direction, D. This is the first step of coverance. For us to find the stage, log the direction. To be honest, in the real journey, my team spend a lot of time to education our user. The second D is design. Here I would like to share some few tips. The first one is, we're not looking for nails with a hammer. We're not digging through the scenario. Otherwise, you will find nails everywhere. The second is, we choose people. We do choose people with innovation, consciousness, and the strategic thinking to participate in our workshop. I don't know whether you believe, internally, we choose the Band 8, Band 9 people to join it in Lenovo. Final one, not only do we taste out the low point in those business scenarios, we also taste out the high point. We encourage participants to fully consider the real situation. It's a divergent process. After that, for all low points, convergence is carried out and the solutions are sought. Our principle is to choose those scenarios that are not blockchain indispensable. That is, again, to find a joint point where to restructure value chain. Start at this point to explore the scenario. For most scenarios, it is better and cheaper to solve the existing mutual technology. Therefore, it is not necessary to solve with blockchain. Yes, we have a lot of tools would use in the whole set of methods, such as this, which I show on the screen, which we don't cover here because the time limited. I will show you more later. When we do the grouping analysis, we will converge again. And you may find that although the pain points are different, they actually come from different parts of the same process. So you need to merge the categories. That's all the thing what we have done. When the business scenario is completely locked, the sorting needs to be carried out according to the user's own characteristics. Again, to find the join point where to restructure value chain, start at this point to explore the scenario. You will find that what we have done, diverge, converge, diverge again, converge again. That's it. Finally, based on the specified characteristic of a user. A user-specified blockchain solution is formed by summarizing, refining, and meaning. This one, green, is emphasized here. We're special. Okay, let's move to the third one. The third D is deploy. Our principle is start small, action fast, think big. I will show some case which we have done. In view of this own strengths, taking the supply chain as an opportunity, we from the inside to the outside. This case happened in our country, in our Hungary country. We already run this case for more than 1.5 years. We from small to large, continuous practice innovation, polish several classic scenario. What I show the example is our internal case. We just grow them up to outside. At the same time, it has in-housing developed blockchain platform, especially for the complex and the sensitive characteristics of supply chain data, and has its own uniqueness in data security and the privacy protection. We are offer 3 services. The first one is supply chain business based on blockchain. The second is in-housing platform. The final one is consultant and the scenario design. The final is distribution. I encourage companies that have great curiosity about the blockchain to embrace innovation. I believe that this is still a good time for the layout of enterprise. When you get involved in the blockchain industry, keep shaping and developing new strategy and the drive to become a leader and a trend setter of this event. In the process of constantly understanding of the supply chain scenario, we are more willing to keep explore and digging, hoping that our experience can help more enterprise avoid detours. We conclude about the 35 scenario in 8th stage of the end-to-end supply chain domain. And more importantly, the scenario behind them are intended to yield different outcomes. Let me show you. They are supply chain security, invoiceless payment, smart manufacturing, asset track and trace, corporate social responsibility. We found that among this, corporate social responsibility is an important factor that many enterprises tend to ignore in the attempts of the new technology. In the whole 35 scenario, you find that we have 3 very classic practice case. Trust your supplier, buy and ATT. It can link end-to-end supply chain. Within this experience, we're moving forward to outside to sell our platform, sell our blockchain, sell our whole solution. We use innovation design thinking as an opportunity to consistently consistently promote and explore valuable and meaningful scenario, and use the business to drive technology. Would you remember the beginning of my message? Blockchain is more about the business model than the technology. This is our consultant and scenario planning service, in addition to the output of the blockchain technology platform. I hope to give you some help. I know time is very limited. Short is long. And I have written this thought, tools, and the process into words and present them to you. Hope this is a small start. We can keep iterating and improving. Looking forward to your comments. Thank you. That's all what I would like to present. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks, Ms. Zhang. Any questions from the audience?
Yes, this is Atul here. This was really insightful presentation. So I wanted to just ask, how big, is the team, and how do you work with the other kind of subsidiaries or other partners within the Lenovo? So what is your recommendation when you start this blockchain journey? Like, how do you start, and how big is the Lenovo blockchain team?
Thanks for the question. My experience is if you want to utilize your blockchain in your company itself, I would like to do more things like what I'm recommended, the 4D model. Because many companies currently want to use blockchain, but they don't know how to start internally. Normally, they use the traditional thinking to starting analysis of blockchain, because they find that the blockchain is the ROI is not so good. They want to asking the same question always like this: what's the benefit of the blockchain can give us? Is there any more cost reduction or efficiency? But I found that it's right now, especially for the big company, they already have the very big or more troublesome system internally. We don't want to use the blockchain to change the current system already for your company. But you need starting to think whether we need to innovate to find out is there any opportunity for yourself. So that's why you couldn't just copy others to see that maybe the supply chain finance is a good start, or the supply chain maybe start, or some other area is start, but need to find what's your strength, what's your next step, where you want to improve. To find the joint point value chain is what I recommend. Then start this. So maybe if you want to sell blockchain as your business, it's a different story. You also need to maybe use the business canvas to find out what's your strengths, which area, which industry you're starting from. Then to sell, to build up your own technology. But if you are the blockchain company already, or you are the technology company, blockchain member already, I would like to encourage you that when you use your tool to help your customer, just here still the beginning. It's a very good time to find a very valuable point to make our customers successful. So that means that you can sell that. Hi, we have a lot of experience on this area or other area. You just follow up is fine. You know, customers are very lazy. They want to have the existing case can be copied. But I want to remind you again. At this moment, customer is now need to be educated. We need to help them to find what's the first scenario is the valuable scenario for them. You know, in China, government has strong support this technology. Many people want to try, but it's not a simple copy. Some people still have opportunity to be the leader of this area. So we would like to find your position. That's why I encourage you that to be the leading, to find a specific scenario, a specific valuable point to starting your job. Then maybe you can find that you would have the different valuable than others. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let me change the page.
Any other questions?
I think there are questions, Cliff, in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't be able to see it.
Or I can read. It says here. A
Yeah,
question here.
Yeah.
Can you read it, or you want me?
No. I couldn't be able to see anything in the chat.
Okay, I will. Let me just read. A question from Josh. In your presentation, I see Lenovo does invoice-less payment against proof of delivery. What is the invoice-less payment? How does blockchain help in this case? Can you explain the model?
Okay. This case happened in our logistic case. In the logistic case, invoice, when we use the invoice, it's the paper. But the paper need a print, need a check, need the check, the first action, at least we need to check each other what's the comments is correct or not. Then pass the paper to the supplier or the corporation team. So in this area, why we need to check the invoice? Because we don't believe that. We need to confirm whether the information are correct or not, or can be trusted. So if on the blockchain, it's big trust, and it's multiple, because it's a multiple corporation, it can be in the one time to share at the moment. So we will save the efficiency to save the corporation communication way of working, to make sure that it's a simple way to add one moment to see all the data, sharing data, and it can be trust. So that's why it can be not only used anywhere. We have the invoice transaction. A transactions scenario, if you use the invoice, if it's multiple corporate the scenario, it can be considering in blockchain. So what we are using is in the buy and sell case, it's a transaction happened in ODM, Lenovo, and the supplier. The three triangle, the three member, we have the transaction. When we do the business, if we need to check the data is correct or not, we can use that. For the logistic scenario, we can also considering that, because when we pass the goods to the deliver, the different tier the deliver, when they do the receive, you need to check what's the package, what's the data are correct or not, then to pass the confirm or goods receiving the information back to the whole chain. So that's if we can not only the digital sign, but it's trust the information on chain, we need not use the paper again. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. There was another question. How do you encourage to join more suppliers in your blockchain application?
How do you encourage?
What is the incentive for supplier to join?
I need to understand. Okay.
How do you encourage to join supplier in your blockchain application?
Yeah, I try to understand this question, to join my blockchain or their blockchain.
So maybe I can make a little bit explanation. Eileen, I mean, if you would consider expand your blockchain ecosystem or your supply chain, right? So you will have a new suppliers included in your supply chain ecosystem. Then you probably need to have some onboarding process to get them in, right? From a blockchain point of perspective, then they could be able to participate all the Lenovo supply chain process, but based on the blockchain. That's my understanding.
Yeah, this is a very good question. Can let me to explain more my knowledge for supply chain and the blockchain. Why I like the supply chain? Why I always sell starting from supply chain is not only it's complex, because of you can find that in supply chain and in blockchain there, if the supplier on that, many member in it. We have the one scenario is trust your supplier. In the supplier management, one key pinpoint is the supplier introduction. If the supplier on the blockchain, what would happen? It's not the introduces new supplier on the chain. It can happen the buy and sell. It can happen the finance, supply chain finance. If you only talking about the scenario, I think it's not only, because currently what's the world happened, outbreak, pandemic. It's make the supply chain more resilient. I believe digital transform. The one more thing, the next word step is resilience. How make it resilience? The true thing is, it's not only transfer your supplier localize or how to strong, how to efficiency, but resilience means you can relationship with your supplier closely. You can touch your resource very easily. One tier, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. The big networking. So how can make it happen? Blockchain. So that's why I encourage the supplier to the blockchain is we need hand in hand to leverage our resource together. When the things happen, it's true. When we're facing a very big demanding or huge, some incredible things, the trust things in the whole supply chain are more resilient. So that's the big reason behind. The other thing, reason behind is, I believe the world would be changed like this. So don't be loose, quickly join. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, so I just refreshed my group chat. Now I could be able to see the questions now. Yes, thanks a lot for your help. So Liba, I hope that, Eileen had already answered your question, but let us know if you have further questions. The next one's from Dave. So Dave's asking, what is the major difference between Lenovo blockchain comparing to others? For example, AWS, IBM.
Thank you, Dad, for this very good question. You led us to do the more promotion of the Lenovo blockchain. Lenovo blockchain, the specific thing is we are starting very small. We are using internally case to grown up in the external case. We are running 100 a year to our internal manufacturing in Hungary to show that it's the great case can be running out. So for we also find that where is our direction? What is our next step? Why we sell our blockchain out? We find that it's not said that what you have done can be copied. Even we have done, we don't think it can be easily copied for others. We think that every one of you are unique. So that means that why we promote the 4D methodology to everyone, that when we find that the new user come to us, we encourage that I would like to find your specific for you, because it's a starting stage. It's not to the stage whole the world use the blockchain, because everyone still new, can be opportunity to use that. The other thing is supply chain is our strong background, because we are the Gartner 15 member and the 4 years continue to be there, because we understand the blockchain, we understand the supply chain. We're thinking that if you are talking about the supply chain blockchain, Lenovo. But if you're talking about others, maybe they are mainly talking about the cloud or the finance, but it's not our first time to encourage. I mean, maybe the typical brand for the Lenovo, blockchain plus supply chain, dual chain is our typical branding. So that's the key specific for blockchain, dual chain. We are promotion of dual chain, supply chain plus blockchain. That's all.
Cool. Cool.
So you're not providing a blockchain as a service, right? Or are you?
Yeah, supply chain. We take our supply chain as a service. So that's why you can see that internally we are running ourselves to.
Okay.
Yeah. Then finally we find that hey, it can encourage more. So why not sell it out? So it's as a business already.
All right. Okay. And are you looking for that in China or globally?
It's a globally. It's a globally because we are a global team.
Exactly. And your supply chain at the moment, I mean, it must be global, right? Which countries in your own internal? Obviously, you have in China, but probably, probably have Korea and Japan and US. You probably have many people in your supply chain, right?
Yeah, look at this. Look at this page. It's our supply chain map.
Okay.
So many
170 countries.
20, 40 countries, 11 in-house. Currently, should be more because we build up an additional one. So that's why we are global. We also have team in Sydney.
What is the family model?
Sorry?
600 plus family model. What is that, Eileen?
600 family models.
Yeah, I don't know. What's that mean? Sorry. Don't call me. Sorry. What's the family model? The meaning of the family model?
Device-ship family model.
Maybe it's Eileen Zhang and the family.
Yes, I think so. Because we encourage the smart factory, smart production, smart family. My homework is not.
I think the question I have, Eileen, this is great presentation. Really, thank you for that. The last question I had was, so are you, for example, if there is let's say, I don't know, maybe let's say a customer who is interested to automate their supply chain using blockchain, and let's say that customer is in let's say FMCG or a consumer product area, right? Let's say there is a company which is not very big, like in the top 25 that you see here, but like a mid-size or a large FMCG company. Then will they come to and if they want to engage with Lenovo, will you be actually giving them a blockchain as a service to them, or this is only for Lenovo's internal supply chain?
Yeah, as I'm talking about, our service is three type. We are working on how to find that page. We provide our service outside. But why I say that our production is focused on the supply chain blockchain, it's outside the service like this. So we can provide not only actually if the customer or user come to us, they have some requirement on the blockchain of the supply chain. It's our strength. But if they have other requirement for the blockchain, we also can support, like finance, like others, because we already handle this. We have some business case that already happened in China, in other area. So that's why you can see that three solution we can support. But to difference with other company, our branding is mainly focused on the supply chain. So that's why to promotion ourselves like this.
Okay, very clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. There's another question from Leba again. Thanks, Leba. The question is, if a supplier joins a blockchain ecosystem, I would assume there's a cost, either a subscription of blockchain, given underneath is a BaaS model, right? And having the application. So maybe you have the application ready, or is it having an application to connect is to my existing system? So my understanding is that, So, if the supplier wanted to come to, a Lenovo, so, but from the integration point of perspective, how Lenovo is going to help, this supplier to have the connection done, I mean, from the infrastructure and application level, to get, this new supplier connected with the Lenovo's, blockchain-based supply chain.
Okay, very, very good question for us. Currently, internally, our supplier, for Lenovo, we have our own supplier. We are already starting our program internally to drive our supplier on our ecosystem already. So step by step, we welcome all the interesting supplier on chain. At this moment, as I know that, free, just as for join. But if I believe for different supplier, I mean, not a supplier, but different member, they would like to join the ecosystem. Different company have a different level. Sometimes maybe they need some hardware, maybe they need some IT support, but I believe that's rely on the supplier, their self requirement. Maybe they just have some investment internally, like IT or the infrastructure. But from our side, we have the whole chain and welcome their join to build up the ecosystem. By the way, for the small company, maybe not for this question, for the last question, some company may be small, but they also would like to starting on the blockchain. Maybe they not much more money, but I think it's also good time for the small and the middle company. For the big company, they also have their problem its own because they have the very mutual system. If you change that, it's also the big challenge. But for the small company, maybe sometimes they still not have the mutual system, I mean the IT system. They manually working on that. But for me, personally, I think it's a good time to jump just from manual jump to the digital system. Any digital system you would like to choose. Why not just jump directly to blockchain? Okay.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense. Another question, actually, did COVID or the pandemic we had, did that change at all the demand or your experience?
Sorry, can you help me to understand more of this question? I'm sorry.
So we've seen a lot of people due to the disease, right? The COVID-19 that we have now. We've seen a lot of people starting to adopt digitization and supply chain and digital finance. Did you see any change? Have you seen any acceleration in adoption of blockchain?
Yeah, sure, of course. But I believe it's a step by step. The first step is because something happened early in China. We can find that the supply chain be considering resilience, especially for some pioneer supply company. But for me, just like what I have mentioned before, how to make the supply chain resilience ecosystem, partner hand in hand. So that's why, to be honest, some people still not in touch this area. But for me, I believe when the resilience supply chain happens, next step, the blockchain would be support that mostly.
Okay, that's good.
Cool. Any further questions from audience?
So in your opinion, just a final question, Eileen, is this, you show some slides saying that 90% of the blockchain projects or technology will die by 2021. So how do I read that slide? I mean, what is the message to the customer? Because that was not a very positive slide.
Thank you so much for this question. That's a bit not only based on the Gartner data, but also based on our experience happened earlier in China. We find that because especially governments support that, so many people think that it's an opportunity for the business. But actually, we know that the technology perspective of the blockchain is not more true. So we couldn't just promote blockchain technology is how good, how benefits they are. But so we need to use the blockchain in itself. When you deal with your case, it must be couldn't without the blockchain is indeed. So that's why when all the case comes out at this moment, maybe the next days, it's just the pay the money, but maybe not the pay back the benefit actually. So that's why I encourage that to spend more time to discovery. What's the really pinpoint? What's the really scenario? What's the exactly you need? Find that starting and pay money. So I believe when the blockchain technology grown up, when the old scenario move true, then the case would be not wasted too much more money. That's my point. Many people in a hurry to jump this, but I always say that calm down. Maybe your problem can be deal with the data, big data, maybe the AI, right. Maybe the cloud. But why always use the blockchain? Stop to use the blockchain at the first side. But if you think this case can be dealt with by the blockchain, that's okay. My team always thinking that, yes, it can be dealt with by blockchain, but it also can be dealt with by the big data. But even it can be dealt with the blockchain, we always measure that. Is there any big benefit? But if it's not a big benefit, just it can be used, we may also couldn't recommend that. Otherwise, several times later, maybe you are not the leader on this area.
Yeah, I think that's very true, right? So in the end, technology is not for technology's sake, right? Technology has to have some kind of business or societal outcome, right? And I think blockchain is going through that phase now, right? And we're seeing a lot of people now using it, not just for show, but for actual value and real return, right? Yeah, so that's exciting to see that Lenovo's doing that, very much so.
Yeah, actually, Artu, I thought the recent Ghana mentioned that in the report was Ghana was considering the quantum ledger database, published by AWS last year, which, used the centralized way, still could have the immutable, reporting as well as the transparency for the participants. But I would say, the technology revolution is moving forward, right? So both in the quantum, ledger database as well as the blockchain itself. So technology is always, getting advanced, day by day. So, but still, the solid, the blockchain methodology as well as the implementation practice would be still very important, or the key, to get the business value returned back, from the technology, from the blockchain. Right. Yeah. So yeah, so I see Lenovo supply chain was a good story to tell.
Yeah. Thank you, Cliff. Very nice explanation.
Cool. All good, guys. Any further questions? We just moving to the end of the meetup. So one more question, if there's a one. Okay, thanks a lot for your time, everyone. So this is the end of the meetup. Thanks, Miss Eileen Zhang, Julian Artu from Hyperledger. Thanks all for your time to join this session. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cliff.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.